The 5 Scrum values could be described as the beating heart of Scrum. We describe Scrum as trainers as an empirical process framework that I've discussed before. However, at its core, it is a deeply human process. 5 Scrum values for focus, openness, commitment, courage, and respect are evident in all activities at all points throughout a Scrum team's existence. Now, whilst we explore each of these values individually, the thing to remember is that the values work hand in glove with each other. For example, considering focus without commitment is pointless. When the 5 Scrum values are lived by the Scrum team, it allows the 3 pillars of empiricism to come to life and builds trust within the Scrum team and the organisation. I appreciate that many people read the Scrum values at face value and think, hey, I know I behave okay, therefore my team don't really need to consider the Scrum values, and those people are wrong. It is on the successful foundation of the Scrum values where great Scrum teams are made. They take the time together to work well, creating an environment where Scrum can flourish. We're going to now dig into each of those values individually and give examples of how Scrum teams use them. Focus. Focus is demonstrated by Scrum teams in many ways, working within the time box of each Scrum event, focusing on a single sprint goal per sprint, a single product goal at a time, all good examples of how a Scrum team demonstrates focus. Alongside this, team members are focused on supporting each other and their continuous development and improvement of value. They constantly remain focused on making the best possible progress. Openness. Everyone in the Scrum team and the wider organisation are open about the work and the challenges. Being open requires individuals to show vulnerability, but there is also an element of unvarnished openness. We trust each other to identify impediments as soon as they occur, rather than masking problems for fear of looking less able. Scrum team members are able to offer feedback within a culture of honesty, which consequently enables them to make necessary adjustments. The next one is commitment. A Scrum team is not a collection of individuals, it is a cross-functional, effective collection of skilled equals. Commitments in Scrum take the form of the sprint goal, the product goal, and the definition of done. In Scrum, we call those commitments to 3 Scrum artifacts. It's worth highlighting at this point, the word commitment and forecast are 2 different things. The Scrum team commits collectively, meaning that nobody commits on their behalf, especially true for external managers. They collectively commit not just to supporting each other, but also to the product. They commit to performing to the best of their abilities. Courage. Scrum team members have the courage to do the right thing, which may not always be the easiest thing. As work progresses, problems become apparent, and they have the courage to address them head on. They also have the courage to challenge each other and their organisation. Finally, respect. Respect as a Scrum value is all-encompassing. All team members respect each other, their colleagues, and their organisation to be capable. In Scrum, we show this by having 0 hierarchy, and what I mean by this is that there is no one accountability, the product owner, the Scrum Master, or the developers. No one is more senior in the team than one another. There are obviously realities at play here. You may in your job hold a position of seniority. However, showing respect within a Scrum team is accepting that everybody's voice is equal. Before we wrap up, I want to give you a short activity. Take a piece of paper and write down each of the 5 Scrum values. For each one, write one specific way in which you or your team can demonstrate that value to one another. This activity is actually a really nice thing to try with your teams. Draw a stickman on a large piece of paper and get people to add post-its to the stickman, exemplifying how the Scrum values are lived in your team. This is the formation of a team charter, which is a great complementary practice for any Scrum team. So, you've now heard a bit about each of the Scrum values, and hopefully, as I've progressed, you've thought more and more about how each of these values are interlinked. You need the courage to be open. You need to have focus to commit to one sprint goal at a time. When exercised collectively, these values give direction to work, actions, and behaviour. The way a Scrum team exercise their process should constantly reinforce focus, openness, commitment, courage, and respect. The single takeaway from this video is something I said at the very start, and here's the quote from the Scrum Guide. When these values are embodied by the Scrum team and the people they work with, the empirical Scrum pillars of transparency, inspection, and adaptation come to life, building trust. Can you see now why I said great Scrum teams are built upon the successful foundation of these values? Without them, how can they succeed?